All right, we're on page 83. And I need your attention, Channing and Tara. Thank you. And you grabbed a book. Good. On page 83, we are taking a look at a little bit before chapter 20. A little bit. Who's crewman number 1? There he is. He's over there.
Wait, crew what?
Crewman number 1 on the second crew. On chapter 20 is titled something called Silver's Embassy. Silver's Embassy. Has anybody ever heard of an embassy?
Yeah.
I've heard of the word
Like that.
What's an embassy?
I've heard of the embassy suites.
It's true, embassy suites. What's an embassy?
There's like the American embassy and it's like in different places.
Yeah, every country that we're allies with or not really at war with has an embassy there. What do you need?
A gym for crew B.
An embassy is where a representative represents one side and talks to the other. I don't know if you've heard about the Benghazi attack at the American embassy.
Yeah.
You've heard about that? It was an ambassador that was killed last September 11th, ironically 11 years after 9/11. He was an ambassador at the embassy. Good job. Thank you. The embassy, hey Danny, it's not a wall, so don't hide behind it. Bring it in. Okay. The embassy is where he was representing the United States. So when it says Silver's Embassy, what do you think's going to happen in this chapter? What's going to happen for Silver's Embassy? Cody?
It's kind of getting allies and joining groups together.
Okay, there's going to be 2 groups, right? And if this is Silver's Embassy, what does that mean? If it's Silver's Embassy. Silver has an embassy now. Jenny, you're the only one brave enough. Go ahead from now. Stick with me. Worry about the chip in a moment.
It would mean like, is he gonna like take over the ship and become, have his own little ship? He's got his own little area.
Okay, so he's taking claim of something, right? Right? He is going to take claim of some things. Good. Cole?
Like you might like have a place like where everybody gets together, like maybe have a meeting for like everybody.
Okay, so we might have a meeting. Very good. Well, we didn't finish chapter 19 in the book. We finished it with the radio, and it left out an important part. So I want to go up, if you're in the same book with me, you're going to go up about 5 or 6 lines. If you're in the black book, you're maybe 9 or 10 lines up on the page on chapter 20. We're at the end of chapter 19, and it's Captain Smollett is admitting, he says, it's the first ship that I ever lost. They're kind of talking about the fact that they've lost the ship to the pirates. The Jolly Roger is waving on the Hispaniola. And Jim says, I was dead tired, as you may fancy. And when I got to sleep, which was not till after a great deal of tossing, I slept like a log of wood. The rest had long been up, and had already breakfasted, and increased the pile of firewood by about half as much again, when I was awakened by a bustle of the sound of voices. Flag of truce, I heard someone say. And then immediately after, with a cry of surprise, it's Silver himself! And at that I jumped up, and rubbing my eyes, ran to a loophole in the wall. Long John Silver is there with a flag of truce. What color is that probably going to be? White.
Purple.
Waving a flag, something that looks white. And he says that Jim said he got up and ran to a loophole. Well, I need to describe this stockade that they're in. Remember, the stockade is a fence that's all the way around a property, and then up a sandy hill with tree stumps and sand pits. You climb up about 30 feet, which is about from here to the other side of Mr. Toplift's wall. That's about 30 feet. You have to climb uphill to get to a cabin. And this cabin has a front door, which is going to be that staircase back there. There's the front door. That is the south. This is north. It's kind of north. Don't do that with that. The north is out there. We're going to say that this is north. And so that if that's north, that means that's got to be west, and that's got to be east, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm just trying to think in my head. So you're looking north. The door is behind you. In each wall, there's a loophole, which is this little notch of wood, a hole in the wood, where you can stick a gun and look out and defend yourself. And there's 2 over here, 2 on that wall. There's the door and 2 on that wall centered. And then this wall has 5 loopholes in it. Okay? And Jim wakes up. He was laying over here in the corner probably. And then ran, tried to keep cover, and ran to a loophole in the front to look out. All right? That gives you a little bit of idea of the cabin, where they're at, inside, and that there's down a sandy hill. There's Long John Silver, and there's some flag being waved. Chapter 20, Silver's embassy. A meeting, like Colton said. Sure enough, there were 2 men just outside the stockade. One of them waving a white cloth, the other no less a person than Silver himself, standing placidly by. Placid, there's a lake in Utah called Lake Placid. It means calm, flat. There's Long John Silver, just calm as ever. Like nothing's happened. It was still quiet early in the coldest morning that I think I ever was abroad in. A chill that pierced into the marrow or the bones. The sky was bright and cloudless overhead, and the tops of trees shone rosily in the sun. But where Silver stood with his lieutenant, all was still in shadow, and they waded knee-deep in a low white vapor that had crawled during the night out of the morass. Somebody asked what morass was. That's the marsh, and there's a fog of like yuck that comes floating up in the middle of the night as it gets cooler. And he says here, the chill and the vapor taken together told a poor tale of the island. It was plainly a damp, feverish, unhealthy spot. This island has some sort of bacterial thing in the air, and they keep mentioning it, the author does. "Keep indoors, men," said the captain. 10 to 1, this is a trick. Then he hailed the buccaneer. "Who goes? Stand, or we fire." "Flag a truce!" The captain was in the porch, keeping himself carefully out of the way of treacherous shot, should any be intended. So he's like, I don't want to get sniped off by somebody over there. So he's looking out the door, looking down the hill. "Doctor's watch on the lookout. Dr. Livesey, you take the north side, if you please. Jim, to the east, Gray, you take the west. Watch below, all hands to load muskets. Lively men and careful." And then he turned again to the mutineers. "And what do you want with your flag of truce?" he cried. This time it was the other man who replied. "Captain Silver said to come on board and make terms," he shouted. "Captain Silver? Don't know him. Who's he?" cried the captain. "What's he saying?" "He's not a captain, I'm the captain." Then even to himself he says, "Captain, is it? My heart here's a promotion. Can't believe this guy's calling himself the captain of my ship." Long John answered for himself. "Me, sir? These poor lads have chosen me captain after your desertion, sir." Laying a particular emphasis upon the word desertion. What's he saying? What? Yeah, you made us do this. You're the one who deserted us. That's why I'm captain. It's your fault. "We're willing to submit if we can come to terms, and no bones about it. All I ask is your word, Captain Smart, to let me safe and sound out of this here stockade in 1 minute to get out a shot before guns fired. My man, I have not the slightest desire to talk to you. If you wish to talk to me, you can come, that's all. If there's any treachery, you'll be on your side, and the Lord help you." "Oh, that's enough, Captain," shouted Long John Church. "A word from you's enough. I know a gentleman, you may like that. Like, I know a good man when I see it, so I'm going to come on over." We could see the man who carried the flag of truce attempting to hold Silver back. But nor was that wonderful, seeing how cavalier had been the captain's answer. It's like, what are you doing letting Long John come up here? And even Long John's buddy's like, "Dude, they'll kill you. What are you But Silver laughed at him. "Oh, that's all right," slapped him on the back, as if the idea of alarm had been absurd. Then he advanced to the stockade, threw his crutch, got a leg up, he's only got one, with great vigor and skill, succeeding in surmounting the fence and dropping safely to the other side. Here he is. Oh. Remember, he's got to climb a fence and then go up the hill with his crutch and one leg in the sand. I will confess that I was far too much taken up with what was going on to be of the slightest use as a sentry. A sentry is someone who watches guard. Root word for sentry is sense, which means to feel, like sensory, to have a feeler out. Indeed, I had already deserted my eastern loophole. He wasn't over there anymore, and crept up behind the captain, who had now seated himself on the threshold, with his elbows on his knees, and his head in his hands, and his eyes fixed on the water as it bubbled out of the old iron kettle in the sand. He was whistling to himself, "Come, lasses and lads." He's just sitting there going, while Long John's climbing up. It's a nice little poker face here. How am I going to handle this little embassy here? Silver had terrible hard work getting up the knoll. What with the steepness of the incline, the thick tree stumps, and the soft sand, and he and his crutch were as helpless as a ship in stays. But he stuck to it like a man in silence, and at last arrived before the captain, whom he saluted in the handsomest style. He was tricked out in his best, an immense blue coat, thick with brass buttons, hung as low to his knees, and a fine laced hat was set on the back of his head. He must have gone back on his ship, got his really nice coat. It's like, "Hey, I'm the captain now. I'll hobble my way up there." "Here you are, my man," raising his head. "You better sit down." "You ain't gonna let me inside, Captain?" complained Long John. "It's a main cold morning, be sure, sir, to sit outside upon the sand." "Why, sir, if you had pleased to be an honest man, you might be sitting in your galley. It's your own doing. You were either my ship's cook, and then you were treated handsome, or Captain Silver, a common mutineer and pirate, and then you can go hang." "Well, well, Captain," returned the sea cook, sitting down as he was bidden on the sand. "You'll have to give me a hand up again, that's all. Sweet pretty place you have of it here. Oh, there's Jim. Top of the morning to you, Jim. Doctor, here's my service. Why, there you all are together like a big happy family in a manner of speaking, looking inside, seeing how many guys they have." "If you have anything to say, my man, you better say it," said the captain. "Right you were, Captain Smollett," replied Silver. "Duty is duty, to be sure. Well now, you look here. That was a good lay of yours last night. I don't deny it was a good lay. Some of you pretty handy with a handspike hand. I'll not deny neither, but what some of my people was shook. Maybe all was shook. Maybe I was shook myself. Maybe that's why I'm here for terms, but you mark me, Captain, it won't do twice. By thunder, we'll have to do sentry go and ease off a point or so of the rum. Maybe you think we're all just sheep in the wind's eye, but I tell you I was sober. I was only dog tired, and if I'd have woke a second sooner, I'd have caught you in the act, I would. He wasn't dead when I got round to him, not he." "Well," says the captain, as cool as can be. "Wait, well, what in the world did Long John just tell us? Anybody able to keep up with Long John's rant?" Said something about he wasn't dead when I got to him. That was a good one last night. He's really good with a handspike or a pickaxe.
The dude in the wild.
It won't happen again. We'll put up a guard next time, and it sure did scare some of the guys. Maybe even it scared me a little bit.
Oh, he's talking about a little crazy dude.
What?
Ben Gunn.
Ben Gunn? He's talking about Ben Gunn. He doesn't know Ben Gunn's there.
Probably thought it was someone else.
Oh, thought someone else did what, Shy? Let's see what Jim thinks. Listen up. All that Silver had said was a riddle to him, but you would have never guessed it from his tone. The captain doesn't even know what the heck he's talking about. If you don't know what he's talking about, Captain doesn't know either, right, Michaela? As for me, I began to have an inkling. Ben Gunn's last words came back to my mind. I began to suppose that he had paid the Buccaneers a visit while they all lay drunk together round fire, and I reckoned up with glee that we only had 14 enemies to deal with. Aha! He figured out that you were right. Ben Gunn went off and offed one of the Buccaneers
How many got?
Wait, kill him?
Only one?
with the pickaxe.
One?
So, take out
Good
number
job, Ben.
16. Take out number 16 if you haven't done it already. So yeah, he said he stoved his head in.
Was he on land or was he on the ship?
That's a good question. Colton asked a good question. Right now, obviously Long John Silver went back to the ship and put on new clothes. These anchors may not help us. It will let us know about this guy with the heart in the future. But right now, we don't know which guy it was, but we're going to say it was one of the land guys. But they may all be on the island now. We don't really know where everybody's at anymore. Okay? So we're just going to cross this up, number 16 off. There was a guy laying by the fire that Jim had saw yesterday. Question?
Did Long John Silver get kicked off the boat?
No? He's their new captain.
Because he's saying that he wants in, but they won't.
He wanted to get in to talk. That's why we were talking about being an embassy. He's representing the pirates right now. Will you let me in the stockade? We talk and then let me leave. He's came in to have a meeting with the captain. That's what he's doing. He does not want to be a part of the good guys. He wants to make a deal with the good guys in order to get out. That's what he's about to do, is make a deal. Question?
Why don't they just kill him?
Why don't they just kill? That's a great question. He says here, earlier he says, I know a gentleman when I see it. All I need to know is that you won't kill me and we can have a discussion. There's this honor that I think is missing in our culture, probably because of terrorism. You don't trust anybody anymore. If you have a chance to take out your enemy anymore, you take them out. But 250 years ago, you didn't kill your enemy. You respected him. And you tried to work things out with diplomacy. Can we work this out together? Can we make a deal before we fight? Okay, we can't? Let's go.
And I still kill him.
That's a totally change in mindset. We don't trust people anymore. Remember, they used to also just line everybody up and just go shoot at each other. That doesn't happen anymore. Now it's guerrilla warfare. Every war is like that, is guerrilla warfare. Or not guerrillas fighting, but it means to be hiding in the trees and things like that.
It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to send in the gorillas. That sounds like something off of like SpongeBob. Guerrilla warfare! And you like send a bunch of gorillas in. Okay. That's on video now. Me doing a gorilla impression. Here we go. Top of page 86, if you're in this book, it says, well, here it is. We want that treasure. And we'll have it, and that's our point. You would just as soon save your lives, I reckon. And that's your point. You have the chart, don't you? That as may be. Oh, well, you have it. I know that. Returned Long John. You needn't be so husky with it, man. There ain't in particular service in that, and you may lay to it. What I mean is, we want your chart. I never meant you no harm myself. So, Long John, here's the meeting that Cheyenne was asking about. He's like, hey, we want the map. You guys want to live. We get that. We can come to an agreement. Do you trust Long John Silver?
No.
No. He told Tom the same thing. Oh man, the guys are going to kill you if you don't join us. All right, I'm leaving, Long John. Oh yeah? Ah, you're dead. Long John doesn't know that Jim hurt him in the apple barrel. Long John doesn't know that he was seen killing Tom. So he thinks he can keep playing this duplicity game, right? Has he been staying consistent as a character? Yeah, two-faced. But because we have Jim, we know he's lying, right? Maybe.
Wait,
Yeah.
so if this story was told from like Livesey's, Dr. Livesey, or like Chapter or someone like that, different point of view, would they know everything about it?
We would know it. He would get it from Jim. Oh, Jim, we heard that I saw these guys kill him. And if Dr. Livesey told this whole story, it would change the entire perspective. And if Jim had never been in the apple barrel, they'd probably all be dead by now.
So Jim's like always at the right place.
Jimmy is always at the right place at the wrong time.
But
Yeah.
also at the wrong direction.
So, there's the embassy, there's the deal he offers them. Okay? And if you don't take our deal, then we'll fight. But he says, no, now I never met you no all myself. And by the way, he's still sitting in the sand with his one leg. I stand up so I can read. That won't do with me, interrupted the captain. We know exactly what you meant to do, and we don't care. For now, you see, you can't do it. We knew what you wanted to do, which was kill us on the way home. We already know it. And the captain looked at him calmly and proceeded to fill a pipe. If Abe Gray, Silver broke out, avast there, cried Mr. Smollett. Gray told me nothing, and I asked him nothing. And what's more, I would see you and him and this whole island blown clean out of the water into blazes first. So there's my mind for you, my mind on that. My man on that. He says, I'd rather everybody die and just blow this place up. I don't care about Abe Gray. I just care about getting off this island and be done with this whole business. Question?
Have they found the treasure?
No. They have not. Nobody's found the treasure where they're still trying to figure out how to get there. They've been worried about surviving. They've only been there 24 hours on the island. Maybe. This little whiff of temper seemed to cool Silver down. He had been growing nettled before, but now he pulled himself together. Like enough, I would set no limits to what gentlemen might consider shipshape, or might not, as the case were. Oh wait, sorry, this is supposed to be Long John. Like enough, I would set no limits to what gentlemen might consider shipshape, or might not, as the case were. And seeing as how you are about to take a pipe, Captain, I'll make so free as to do likewise. So Danny, he sits down and says, hey, you're going to have a pipe? Why don't I smoke a pipe with you? He filled a pipe and lighted it, and the two men sat silently smoking for quite a while. Just two guys. And you chuckle, just think about Jim's watching this like, what's going to happen?
It's
They
like
just sit home.
one single swipe.
Quiet.
Full time.
And the two men sat silently smoking for quite a while, now looking each other in the face, now stopping their tobacco, leaning forward to spit. It was as good as the play to see them. Now, here it is, resumed Sibbett. You give us the chart to get the treasure box, and drop shooting poor seamen and stoving their heads in while asleep. You do that, and we'll offer you a choice. It says, stop killing us. You do that, we'll offer you a choice. Either you come aboard among us once the treasure's shipped, and then I'll give you my affidavit, upon my word of honor, to clap you somewhere safe for sure. Or, if that ain't your fancy, some of my hands being rough and having old scores on account of hazing, and you can stay here. You can, like, some of these guys don't like you. So, how about we just leave you alone? You give us the map, and we'll leave you alone. We'll just get out of here. You have two choices. You can either come with us and we'll drop you off, or you just stay here and listen up. He says, we'll divide stores with you man for man, and I'll give you my affidavit as before to speak the first ship I sight, send a man to pick you up. I'll send somebody to come get you. Just give us the map. Then we don't have to do anything else. Now, you alone, that's talking. That's a good deal right there. Handsomer you couldn't get, not you. And I hope that, raising his voice, that all hands in this here blockhouse will over all my words for one and spoke to one and spoke to all. Say, hey, everybody in there. What do you think of that? That's a pretty good deal. We'll just leave you guys alone. Do you trust Long John Silver?
No.
No. Captain Smollett rose from his seat and knocked out the ashes of the pipe in the palm of his left hand. Is that all? Every last word, bartender. Refuse that, and you've seen the last of me but musket balls. It's like, hey, you don't want that? Next time you see me, it'll be on the end of a musket, firing at your face. Very good, said the captain. Now you'll hear me. The captain's thought of his own little plan, Jay. If you'll come up one by one, unarmed, I'll engage to clap you all in iron to take you home to fair trial in England. If you won't, my name is Alexander Smollett. I've flown my sovereign's colors, and I'll see you all to daily challengers. Can't find a treasure, you can't sail the ship. There's not a man among you fit to sail the ship. Can't find us, Gray there got away from 5 of you. Your ship's in irons, Master Silver. You're on a lee shore, and so you'll find. I stand here and tell you so. And they're the last good words you'll get from me. In the name of heaven, I'll put a bullet in your back when next I meet you. Tramp, my lad, bundle out of this, please, hand over hand, and double quick! Silver's face was a picture. His eyes started in his head with wrath. He shook the fire out of his pipe. Well, give me a hand up! Not I, returned the captain. Who'll give me a hand up? Not a man among us moved, growling the foulest imprecations. He crawled along the sand till he got a hold of the porch to hoist himself up again on the crutch. And he spat into our drinking water. There, he cried, that's what I think of you. Before an hour's out, I'll stove in your blockhouse like a rum puncheon. Laugh, by thunder, laugh, because everybody's laughing at him because he can't get up. I'm falling, I can't get up. Puts a little button around his neck. Before an hour's out, you'll laugh upon the other side, then to die will be the lucky ones. With a dreadful oath, he stumbled off, plowed down the sand, was helped across the stockade after 4 or 5 failures by the man with the flag of truce, and disappeared in an instant among the trees. What? It's only about 6 feet high. You just grab up there and pull yourself up, and he's trying to get his leg over, and the guy's like, eh. So it's kind of a funny little like vibe. We finally got to see Long John Silver turn the other side. He lost control for a moment, right? And the line in the sand was drawn by the captain. It's like, you guys can come up here and we'll send you to jail. We won't kill you. If you don't want to do that, let's fight. So, I wonder what's going to happen in the next chapter. Anybody read the title? The Attack. As soon as, oh, question?
I'm confused on the part where he's like Gray, and he like raised his voice, like.
He's like, hey, Gray, if Gray told you our plan, and he's like, no, Gray didn't tell me anything.
Wait, so
Gray was a pirate at first, and then he changed. He decided to be a good guy. He changed, that was on the radio program last Friday, I think. We listened, and Abraham Gray was that's why we wrote Abraham Gray. See, you drew an arrow. He was a pirate, became a good guy. Maybe Thursday. Yes?
Where's Ben Gunn?
We don't know.
In the goat.
We have no idea where Ben Gunn is. He never went in the stockade. He ran off.
So are the good guys in the stockade?
Good guys are inside the stockade. The bad guys are sleeping by the fire. Ben Gunn killed one of them last night, we think. Yeah.
I can see like Ben Gunn just like during like the attack, he like rides by like riding on a tiger. I can
No, it's probably a liger, right? A lion and a tiger put together.
Yeah, I like the story.
Okay. Here we go. As soon as Silver disappeared, the captain, who had been closely watching him, turned towards the interior of the house and found not a man of us at his post but Gray. Everybody was supposed to be standing at a post. Where were they? Watching Long John Silver. Quarters! And then, as we all slunk back to him, Gray, I'll put your name in the log. You've stood by our duty. Like a seaman. Mr. Trelawney, I'm surprised at you, sir. Doctor, I thought you would worn the king's coat. If that was how you had served at Fontenoy, sir, you'd have been better in your berth. You should have just stayed in bed. Come on, guys. The doctor's watch were all back at their loopholes. The rest were busy loading the spare muskets. And everyone with a red face, you may be certain, and a flea in his ear, as the saying is. It's like halftime, and the coach is like, that was horrible first half! What's wrong with you? You gotta get back to your places! Right? And so, everybody's like, oh man, I'm such an idiot. What was I doing? That's gonna be a flea in his ear, okay? Except, way to go, nice shot, Gray. Way to be in the right spot at the right time. You did what I told you to do. He's about to give him a nice halftime speech here in a little. He says, well, lads, I'm giving Silver the broadside. I pitched it in red hot on purpose. I threw it right in his face. And before the hour's out, he said, we shall be boarded, attacked. We're outnumbered, I needn't tell you that. But we fight in shelter, and a minute ago I should have thought we had fought with discipline. I've no matter of doubt that we can drub them if you choose. Guys, we can do this, we can win this, come on! Then he went rounds and saw as he said that all was clear. And so everybody's like, all right, I'm not going to screw up this time, Captain. I'm ready to go. I won't mess up. Yeah.
How do they think they're gonna win? They have a ship with cannons on it.
Yeah, but the cannon is way out in the ocean, and they can't hit the stockade. They've already shown that in the story, that it's too far away. It's not a cannon that explodes. It's just a cannonball this big. And
Oh.
it's not a very accurate thing. It's nice when you're about 25 feet away and blow up a ship, but a quarter of a mile, it's not going to do any good. Yeah?
Oh, okay. Have they not seen, like, wouldn't his footprints be places, like, Falcon Silver Sea when he killed the guy, like, and he ran away?
It's
with
really, really thick. It's not like they're on sand. They're in the marsh.
Did he go up to the stockade?
Who?
Did he go before he ran off?
No, he didn't get very close to the stockade. They could see the flag, but that was it.
Oh.
But it's not like these guys are pirates. They're not human trackers. They wouldn't know how. They don't know that there's anybody else on the island. They don't have any idea. They could have been Jim's footprints. They don't know. On the two short sides of the house, east and west, there were only 2 loopholes. I already told you that. On the south side, where the porch was, 2 again. And on the north side, 5 loopholes, right? There was a round score of muskets for the 7 of us. The firewood had been built into 4 piles, tables you might say. They built the firewood up about this high so that they could set things on them like tables. 1 about the middle of each side, and on each of these tables some ammunition and 4 loaded muskets were laid ready to the hand of the defenders. In the middle, the cutlasses lay ranged. So they've got the swords in the middle of the room, and then they've got guns set on tables of wood piles. Toss out the fire. The chill has passed and we mustn't have smoke in our eyes. The iron basket was carried bodily out by Mr. Trelawney, and the embers smothered among the sand. Threw the fire out, and it was kind of like a little chimney in there in the middle. Hawkins hasn't had his breakfast. Hawkins, help yourself and back to your post to eat. Lively now, my lad. You'll want it before you've done. Hunter, serve a round of brandy to all hands. Everybody have a drink and calm your nerves. And while this was going on, the captain completed in his own mind the plan of defense. Doctor, you'll take the door. See? And don't expose yourself. Look outside, but don't get shot. Keep within and fire through the porch. Hunter, take the east side. There, Joyce, you stand by the west, my man. Mr. Trelawney, you are the best shot, and you and Gray will take along the north side with 5 loopholes. It's there the danger is. If they can get up to it and fire in upon us through our own ports, things would begin to look dirty. He says if they run up, they can run up to those little loopholes. Now it's no longer a defense, it's a weakness. They can put their gun in and just pop at us like fish in a barrel. Hawkins, now that you are much account and I are much account at the shooting, we'll stand by to load and bear a hand. We'll load the muskets with the shot and the ball, give it to them. Load it. Once they fire, keep things going. Because you don't have, all you have is, boom, give me another gun. Boom, give me another gun. Boom, give me another gun. As the captain had said, the chill was past. As soon as the sun had climbed above our girdle of trees, it fell with all its force upon the clearing and drank up the vapors that had drawn. It's really hot, is what he's saying. Soon the sand was baking and the resin melting in the logs of the blockhouse. Jackets and coats were flung aside, shirts thrown open at the neck and rolled up to the shoulders, and we stood there, each at his post, in a fever of heat and anxiety. An hour passed away. Hang them! This is as dull as the doldrums. Gray, whistle for a wind! And just at that moment came the first news of the attack. If you please, sir, if I see anyone, am I to fire? Joyce says. I told you so. Thank you, sir. Joy turned Joyce with the same quiet civility. Nothing followed for a time, but the remark had set us all on alert, straining ears and eyes. The musketeers with their pieces balanced in their hands, the captain out in the middle of the blockhouse with his mouth very tight and a frown on his face. So some seconds passed till suddenly Joyce whipped up his musket and fired. The report had scarcely died away ere it was repeated, and repeated from without in a scattering volley, shot behind shot, like a string of geese from every side of the enclosure. Several bullets struck the log house, but not one entered. And as the smoke cleared away and vanished, the stockade and the woods around it looked as quiet and empty as before. Not a bough waved, not the gleam of a musket barrel betrayed the presence of our foes. Did you hit your man? No, sir, I believe not. Next best thing to tell the truth, muttered the Captain Smollett. Load his gun, Hawkins. How many should you say were on your side, Doctor? I know precisely. 3 shots fired on this side. I saw the 3 flashes too close together, one farther west. 3, repeated Captain. And how many on yours, Mr. Trelawney? But this was not so easily answered. There had come many from the north, 7 by the squire's computation, 8 or 9 according to Gray. From the east and west only a single shot had been fired. It was plain therefore the attack would be developed from the north, and that on the other 3 sides we would only be annoyed by a show of hostilities. But Captain Smollett made no change in his arrangements. If the mutineers succeeded in crossing the stockade, he argued, they would take possession of any unprotected loophole and shoot us down like rats in our own stronghold. Nor had we much time left for a spot. Suddenly, with a loud huzza, ah! A little cloud of pirates leaped from the woods on the north side and ran straight to the stockade. 7 or 8 guys were running at the fence up here. At the same moment, the fire was once more opened from the woods, and a rifle ball sang through the doorway and knocked the Doctor's musket into bits. Doctor's in there, his gun just explodes in his hands. The boarders swarmed over the fence like monkeys. Squire and Gray fired back, and yet again. 3 men fell, 1 forwards into the enclosure, 2 back on the outside. But of these, 1 was evidently more frightened than hurt, for he was on his feet again at a crack, and instantly disappeared among the trees. 2 had bit the dust, 1 had fled. 4 had made good their footing inside our defenses. Number 15. Number 14. They're dead. The 4 who had boarded made straight before them for the building, shouting as they ran. And the man among the trees shouted back to encourage them, "Rah! Rah!" Several shots were fired, but such was the hurry of the marksmen that not one appears to have taken effect. Oh, they missed! In a moment, the 4 pirates had swarmed up the mound and were upon us. The head of Job Anderson, the boatswain, appeared in the middle loophole. "Adam, all hands! All hands!" he roared in a voice of thunder. At the same moment, another pirate grasped Hunter's musket by the muzzle, wrenched it from his hands, plucked it through the loophole, and with one stunning blow, laid the poor fellow senseless on the floor. Hunter, injured. Meanwhile, a 3rd, running unharmed all around the house, appeared suddenly in the doorway and fell with his cutlass on the doctor. Dr. Livesey, injured. Our position was utterly reversed. A moment since we were firing under cover at an exposed enemy. Now it was we who lay uncovered and could not return a blow. The log house was full of smoke to which we owed our comfort of safety. Cries and confusion, the flashes and reports of pistol shots, and one loud groan, "Ah!" rang in my ears. "Out, lads! Out and fight him in the open! Cutlasses!" cried the captain. I snatched a cutlass from the pile, and someone at the same time snatching another gave me a cut across the knuckles, which I hardly felt. Somebody accidentally cut him on the hand. I dashed out the door into the clear sunlight. Someone was close behind, I knew not whom. Right in front, the doctor was pursuing his assailant down the hill, and just as my eyes fell upon him, beat down his guard and sent him sprawling on his back with a great slash across his face. He just injured somebody. Number 13 just got injured by the doctor. "Round the house, lads! Round the house!" cried the captain. And even in the hurly-burly, I perceived a change in his voice. Captain Smollett, injured. Mechanically I obeyed, turned eastwards with my cutlass raised, ran round the corner of the house. Next moment, I was face to face with Job Anderson. He roared aloud, "Ah!" and his anger went up above his head, flashing in the sunlight. His sword. I had not time to be afraid, but as the blow still hung impending, leaped in a trice upon one side, and missing my foot in the soft sand, he rolled headlong down the slope. He missed me, and rolls down the hill a little bit. When I had first sallied from the door, the other mutineers had been already swarming up the palisade to make an end of us. One man, in a red nightcap with his cutlass in his mouth, had even got upon the top and thrown a leg across of the fence. Well, so short had been the interval that when I found my feet again, he was also in the same posture. The fellow with the red nightcap, halfway over, another still showing his head above the top of the stockade. One guy was climbing over, and now he's still there. Another one had his head looking over, and he's still there.
Were they dead? Who killed them?
Gunshots from somewhere. Numbers 11 and 12. Hey, they're just stock characters, right? Just some picture in your mind.
Maybe I'll get
Okay? And yet, in this breath of time, the fight was over, and the victory was ours. Gray, following close behind me, had cut down the big Botson ere he had time to recover from his lost blow. He had missed me, he fell down, and there was Gray with a right in the face. Bye-bye, Joe Vanderson. Sorry, buddy. Bye-bye, Joe Vanderson. Another had been shot at a loophole in the very act of firing into the house, and now lay in agony, pistol still smoking in his hand. There's a guy hurt. Here. Yeah, number 10 is injured.
Wait, should we have Ben Gunn now?
Hold on.
Good guys.
Let's not worry about that. Another had been shot at the loophole in the very act of firing into the house, and now lay in agony, the pistol still smoking in his hand. A third, as I had seen, the doctor had disposed of at a blow. That guy who was injured, Dr. Livesey got it. Of the four who had scaled the palisade, only one remained unaccounted for, and he, having left his cutlass on the field, was now clambering out again with the fear of death upon him. He ran off. One guy survived. "Fire! Fire from the house! And you lads back into cover!" cried the doctor. But his words were unheeded. No shot was fired, and the last boarder made good his escape, and disappeared with the rest into the woods. In 3 seconds, nothing remained of the attack party but the 5 who had fallen. 4 on the inside, and 1 on the outside. Of the palisade, that's the fence. The doctor in Gray and I ran full speed for shelter. The survivors would be back where they had left their muskets, and at any moment the fire might recommence. So it's like, get back in the house. The house was by this time somewhat cleared of smoke, and we saw at a glance that the price we had paid for victory. Hunter lay beside his loophole, stunned. He's passed out. Joyce, by his, shot through the head, never to move again. While right in the center, the squire was supporting the captain, one as pale as the other. "The captain's wounded. Have they run?" "All that could, you may be bound. But there's 5 of them will never run again." 5? But that's better. 5 against 3 leaves us 4 to 9. That's better odds than we had at starting. It was 7 to 19 then. I thought we were. That's as bad to bear. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I took
Mom John Silver.
1.
I think you might have like discounted because we.
Yeah, I probably should have crossed off this guy. I should have crossed off this guy. Because, what does it say at the bottom? It says the mutineers were only 8 in number, for the man shot by Trelawney on board the schooner died that evening.
So how many people?
Pirate number 9 is still, I shouldn't have crossed him off yet. Pirate number 9 is still alive. So don't cross out pirate number 9.
But pirate number 9 is Gray.
Oh, okay. Number 11 I shouldn't have crossed off yet. Pirate number 11 is still around. There's that guy that's alive. I shouldn't have, I put a heart next to 1 and then crossed him off, so sorry about that. So you should have 8 guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that are still alive. Good job. Tomorrow I won't be here, but Friday you can purchase what you want. Bye.
All 10.